Hello everyone, welcome to Chetan Bharat Learning and welcome to lecture number 7 of UPSC Mains 2021 course and test series for economics. As you guys all know by now that I'm taking the economics portion of this course. So till now, we have done 6 classes, right, for economics. And as you guys all know by now that we discuss in every lecture, we discuss 5 questions, and through those 5 questions, we try to cover as many issues as possible for your mains examination. Now today we are going to start with economics lecture 7, and the topic that we are going to cover from your syllabus of economics is issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support prices, public distribution system, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping, issues of buffer stock and food security, technology missions, and economics of animal rearing. And by economics of animal rearing, they're talking about livestock and allied activities. Agriculture and allied activities, while economics of animal rearing deals with allied activities. All right, fishery, poultry, piggery, cattle rearing, all that stuff. All right. So without further ado, without further delay, let's start with question number 1. Discuss the importance of public distribution system in India and also explain the challenges involved and reforms required to overcome these challenges. Now, in this question, what you have to do is, they have asked you specifically that discuss the importance of public distribution in India. So in the introduction part of your answer, you will write about public distribution system in India, right? In the introduction part of your answer, you will define PDS system in India. Public distribution system, how it works, and there is a buffer stock. What they do is, you can use a diagram representation also. That through public distribution system in India, government, or FCI to be precise, procures food grains from farmers, keeps it in their buffer stock, stores it, and transport it to different parts of the country. And then now in different parts of the country, there are fair price shops. Right? There are fair price shops. At these shops, consumers can buy ration at subsidized rate. So it would be advisable to use a diagrammatic representation, all right, to explain public distribution system. Through public distribution system, government, FCI, procures grains, wheat and rice from farmers at MSP. It keeps them in their buffer stock, it stores them, it transports them to various fair price shops all over the country. And at these fair price shops, rice, wheat, pulses, coarse grains, all these things, all these food grains are sold to consumers, below poverty line consumers, actually people who need it. They are sold to those consumers at a very low rate. For example, 1 rupee per kg for rice, 2 rupee per kg for wheat, and so on and so forth, right? So through this public distribution system, what is government trying to achieve? And then we'll come to the main body of your answer. They're asking you to discuss the importance of public distribution system in India. So what will you do? How will you approach this part of the question? Well, to discuss the importance of public distribution system in India, you'll actually explain the advantages of PDS system. Public distribution system in India. Now, what are the advantages of public distribution system in India? Let's take a look at that one by one. Number 1, remunerative income for farmers. And that makes sense. Because if government is ready to buy from farmers food grains at MSP, what is MSP after all? Minimum support price. Government is actually trying to assure farmers that they will get a minimum price for their produce, right? So in a sense, government is providing income security to farmers by buying their produce at MSP, all right? So remunerative income for farmers. Then number 2, the whole point of public distribution system in India was to provide food subsidy. And through that food subsidy, government is trying to ensure food security throughout the nation. Right? Make sense? Because food is not available at all parts in your country. So government is procuring food from different parts of the country and transporting it everywhere. Clear? Now, third is ensuring price stability. In the market. Now, how does government ensure price stability in the market? Let's suppose price of wheat or rice increases dramatically in the market. Now, as you guys all know by now, that why do commodities become expensive? How does the price increase? Well, it all depends on forces of market, which are demand and supply. So whenever demand is more than supply, prices start to rise. And whenever supply is more than demand, well, prices start to decline. So if price of wheat or rice is rising, that's because there is shortage of wheat or rice. Demand for wheat or rice is there, but the supply has fallen. Right? And that is why when demand outstrips supply of food commodities, well, their price increases. So suppose price of wheat or rice has started to climb. Now, when that happens, government starts to dilute its buffer stock. It will start selling grains from their buffer stock in the market. Now, through that, government is increasing supply so that it matches demand. Now, when government increases supply, prices start to calm down. There is a sobering effect of on inflation. Right? So because of this buffer stock, government has surplus stock of food grains. Whenever the food grains become expensive, government offloads this buffer stock, and through that, government is moderating food inflation. So ensuring price stability is also one of the aims of, or is also one of the consequences of public distribution system. All right? Then next, fighting poverty. Now, most of the poor households spend a dominant proportion of their income on food, on purchasing food. Right? Most of the poor households cannot afford expensive things. So the dominant portion of their income is dedicated towards food. Now, if government takes care of that component, if government provides them food at a very low cost, then they'll be left with surplus income and they can use it to buy other things. For example, education for the kids, for example, transportation, for example, fuel and all that stuff. Right? So in a sense, by providing food subsidy, government is helping poor households in India. So fighting poverty. All right? And so on and so forth. These are the major advantages of public distribution system. And that is why public distribution system is favored in India. You know, WTO or many developed countries in WTO are actually going against India. They're telling India to stop its food subsidy program, to stop its MSP, to stop its stop its public distribution system. They are forcing India to let go of this system. But India is not letting go of this system. Why? Because India knows that it is very important in fighting poverty, in providing food security, in providing income for farmers, in ensuring price stability. So despite many roadblocks in WTO, despite many people resisting India for providing food subsidy, India has still continued with public distribution system, again for the sole purpose of providing these 4 things. All right, makes sense? Now, with this, the first part of your question gets answered. Discuss the importance of public distribution system in India. Then the next part comes. Also explain the challenges involved and reforms required to overcome these challenges. So let's take a look at challenges involved in public distribution system. Number 1, high fiscal cost. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, these food subsidy programs are not cheap for government. They're pretty expensive. Do you know? If we take a look at the entire subsidy bill of India, the dominant portion is taken up by food subsidy. the largest subsidy program in India's context is food subsidy. India spends a hell lot of money for providing food subsidies. So these schemes, this food subsidy system, public distribution system, is not cheap for the government. It's actually very expensive, right? So it comes with a lot of fiscal cost. But government is not against bearing this fiscal cost. Government is comfortable bearing this fiscal cost. The problem comes when government is spending so much money, yet food security is not being ensured. What I mean by that is, government is spending crores and crores of rupees, but that crores and crores of rupees are not reaching people. And why are they not reaching people? Because of corruption. Because of leakages. Right? So government is not at all bothered of bearing this high fiscal cost. Government is pretty comfortable. Government has enough money and government wants to take care of its people. So government is ready to bear this cost of food subsidy. The problem comes when government is spending so much money, yet it is not reaching the people. Why? Again, because government departments are corrupt. There are many allegations against FCI in India, corruption allegations. A lot of food grains from buffer stock, they do not reach people. They do not reach people at all. There are a lot of leakages in the system, right? So when government is spending so much, yet it is not reaching people, that's a big problem. And this is one of the big challenges. Right? In the end, we'll talk about how to reform these challenges, how to take care of these challenges, but let's talk about the challenges first. Then, government does not have enough storage infrastructure. And because government does not have enough storage infrastructure, the consequence is that a lot of food gets wasted. A lot of food gets rots, because there is moisture in the air, there is water, and if you are not scientifically storing your food grains, well, they do get spoiled, right? So because there is not enough storage infrastructure, there are not enough modern silos, government or many food agencies in India are using cover and plinth storage mechanism, a very unscientific storage mechanism. Because of all these things, a lot of food gets wasted. Now, if you couple this wastage part with high fiscal cost, this again magnifies the burden. Government is spending so much on providing food grains, yet a significant chunk of those food grains are getting wasted, not reaching the people. Why? Because government does not have enough storage infrastructure. Makes sense, right? Government has many agencies. FCI has its own godowns. Central Warehousing Corporation, state warehousing corporations, they all have their warehouses, yet they are not enough to store the high magnitude of, high volume of food grains that government procures through FCI every year. All right. So poor storage infrastructure, and in the same breath, I'll say poor transport infrastructure as well. Then, another part is market distortion. You know, subsidies are of two types: direct subsidy and indirect subsidy. Now, indirect subsidy is an example of price subsidy. For example, wheat is sold in the market at this price, 100 rupees per kg, right? But government is providing subsidized food grains, let's suppose at 50 rupees per kg. So in a sense, government is giving you 50 rupees, but government is giving you that money indirectly. If you are eligible for food subsidy under a government program, then you can buy wheat for 50 rupees. But if you're not eligible, then you'll have to buy wheat at 100 rupees. So in a sense, government is giving eligible beneficiaries 50 rupees subsidy. But this is an example of indirect subsidy. This is a price subsidy, right? Now, what is direct subsidy? Well, in direct subsidy, government says that wheat will be sold everywhere at this price only, 100 rupees per kg. Everywhere. The eligible beneficiaries will also have to purchase wheat at 100 rupees per kg only. But What government will do is government would directly transfer 50 rupees in the bank accounts of these beneficiaries, right? So government is directly providing you money. So in a sense, government is giving you 50 rupees and you are spending 100 rupees. So in a sense, you are just spending 50 rupees extra. So both these situations are same for a consumer, for an eligible beneficiary. Yet, it creates a lot of differences. In this case, government is providing you a 50 rupees subsidy indirectly. In this case, government is directly handing over money to you. Now, what is the advantage of direct subsidy? Direct subsidy is said to be superior to indirect subsidy. You know why? They say that under indirect subsidy regime, there is a situation which is very harmful for an economy. And that is one commodity, two prices. In case of price subsidy, in case of indirect subsidy, wheat is sold in the market at two prices, 100 rupees, 50 rupees. Now this creates market distortion. And it also creates scope for leakages. What will happen? The corrupt officials in FCI would steal, would leak away 50 rupees worth of wheat, subsidized wheat. And they would sell stolen wheat in the market at 100 rupees and they'll earn a profit out of it. Do you see? Now this creates scope for leakages, this creates scope for corruption, and this also creates market distortion. So whenever there is a situation of one commodity and two prices, a commodity is being sold in the market at two prices, it creates market distortion, and that is very harmful. So that is why government is trying to shift towards direct subsidy, direct income support. Government will give you money directly in your bank account. The commodity or the good that needs to be subsidized will be sold at market price everywhere. Everywhere. Right? So currently under food subsidy or currently under our PDS system, public distribution system, we provide this form of subsidy. But slowly and gradually government is moving towards direct subsidy. And if government moves towards direct subsidy, well, leakages would cease to exist. There might be some leakages, but leakages would come down. And when leakages would come down, government's fiscal cost would also come down. Market distortion would also stop happening. Right? So this is direct subsidy. If government completely shifts towards direct subsidy, well, that would create a lot of many solutions for various problems plaguing public distribution system. All right, makes sense. So these are the challenges. Now, the other part of this question is, what reforms are required to overcome these challenges? Let's take a look at this one by one. Well, to solve the market distortion problem, one reform is to shift to direct subsidy, direct benefit transfer, directly linking that subsidy to bank accounts. Well, there is this another problem. You know, remember we talked about fair price shops. Now, fair price shops would sell subsidized food grains only to eligible households. Only people who have the required ration card, right? Only then you'll get food at subsidized rates from these fair price shops, ration shops. The thing is that corruption is also plaguing this institution. There is a lot of duplicacy involved. There are various ineligible beneficiaries who manage to create their own ration card, who manage to create a below poverty line card. They are not below poverty line, yet through corruption and all, they create a below poverty line, BPL card, right? So in this system, there are various inclusion and exclusion errors. What do I mean by inclusion errors? People who are not eligible are getting benefits of this subsidy. This is inclusion errors. False people are being included. People who are not below poverty line, they are also through corruption getting themselves included. All right. And the other is exclusion errors. Now, what is exclusion error? Well, exclusion error is very simple. People who are eligible are unable to get the benefit of this subsidy. So now couple this problem with the high fiscal cost. Government is providing so much money, yet it is not reaching intended beneficiaries, exclusion error. And it is reaching false people, false duplicate ration cards. It is reaching people who are not eligible. So the entire aim and objective of bearing this high fiscal cost gets defeated because of these inclusion and exclusion errors. right? So what has the government sought to do? Well, government is trying to create ration cards which are Aadhaar linked and directly linked to their bank account. Aadhaar linked. All right, so it would solve the problem of inclusion and exclusion errors. Aadhaar linked ration cards. Then we talked about a lot of corruption and leakages in FCI, right? And most of this corruption happens at this stage: buffer stock stage, transportation stage, storage stage. Now, you see, the reason why corruption happens is because there is lack of transparency. Lack of transparency. You don't know what the FCI officials are doing. There is lack of transparency. Now, to improve transparency in Food Corporation of India, government is trying to computerize the entire PDS operation. So we talk about end-to-end computerization of PDS. Right? There is this another way to resolve the issue of corruption. Most of the grains are leaked during the transportation stage. So each truck of FCI will be GPS enabled. So the organizer, the government would be able to track where the trucks are moving. They'll be able to track those trucks which are carrying food grains from the buffer stock from FCI. So through GPS, global positioning system, or geographical information system, government can track all the food grains that it has procured. It can track all the food grains that it has procured. Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, GPS, geographical information system, and all that stuff. So these are the few reforms which would solve this problem: corruption and leakages. Would solve poor transport mechanism, would solve market distortion if DBT is there. Now, to solve the problem of storage infrastructure, well, government needs to spend a lot on creating more cold storages, on creating more modern silos. Government needs to spend more on improving storage infrastructure, improving transport infrastructure. So that will be point number 5, spending or improving infrastructure. Right? If all these things happen, then fiscal cost would automatically come down, and the burden that the government is bearing for providing food security would come down. And that leftover money can be used for other things to help the citizens of this country. Make sense? All right. So I hope I have covered each and every aspect that was asked in this question. All right. Now let's move on to question number 2. Subsidies are often criticized that instead of offering solutions to the problems, they themselves become a problem. In the light of the above statement, discuss the issues surrounding the subsidy system in India. Well, this question is partially related to the previous question that we talked about. We discussed direct and indirect subsidies. Yes. So this is the entire thing. That is what this question is trying to ask. Now, as I have mentioned this before, for answering mains question paper well, half the battle is won if you read the question properly. So let's read the question properly. Subsidies are often criticized that instead of offering solutions to the problem, they themselves become a problem. They say that generally government intends to provide subsidies to provide for the poor, right? To provide solutions to the problems being faced by poor. But eventually, this subsidy regime in itself becomes a problem. Make sense? Now, in the light of the above statement, discuss the issues surrounding the subsidy system. So let's discuss the issues surrounding the subsidy system. Well, what are the issues? Again, inclusion-exclusion errors. Because of lack of transparency. Right? False people are included, genuine people are excluded. This is a big problem. Then indirect subsidy and all the problems associated with indirect subsidy. For example, market distortion. Right? You can write market distortion again. And you'll write 4, 5 lines for each of these points. All right? Then there is market distortion. All right. Then there's a lot of corruption, leakages. Then money does not reach the intended beneficiaries. So these are the problems. These are the major problems. All right, a lot of other problems are there, but they are pretty simple problems, and you'll get to read about them in the PDF that you are going to be given along with this lecture. All right, my point is to focus on the major problems plaguing this system, right? So the current subsidy regime in India faces these problems. But if the current subsidy regime in India is facing problems, the answer is not to remove the subsidy regime, because after all, that subsidy regime came for a reason, to help the poor. If you are going to say that the subsidy regime is actually not helping the poor, or not helping the poor as we intended, so let's do away with the subsidy regime. That's not the solution. Whenever you're feeling cold, you take a blanket. If that blanket is not protecting you from the cold, well, you don't say that let's remove the blanket. No, you try to find solutions, right? So that is what the question is trying to ask. The question is saying that the current subsidy regime was intended to solve many problems, but it has become a problem in itself. So should we do away with the subsidy regime? Absolutely not. Then what should we do? We should improve the subsidy regime, because subsidy regime came for a reason, and that reason was to help the needy. Make sense, right? So what can we do to solve the problems, the issues plaguing the current subsidy regime? Well, the answer is pretty similar to what we talked about in the PDS system. Well, move towards direct benefit transfer, ensure transparency, right? End-to-end computerization of various things, right? Aadhaar linking of various beneficiaries to their bank account, direct benefit transfer, and all that stuff, all these things. There are many other things that you'll get in your model answer. My point was to help you to understand the question and to give you the structure of your answer. All right. So we won't spend much time on discussing this question, because this question is somehow partially discussed in the previous example only. All right. Okay, then let's move on to third question. Providing portability of food security benefits all across the nation through one nation, one card can prove to be a game changer in the public distribution aspects of the country. Comment. Very simple question. They are trying to tell you that please list down the advantages of one nation, one ration card scheme. That's all. Yet what they have written, the directive that they have given is comment. Now, whenever you find this word, comment, it means that they are seeking your own opinion. You have to write your own opinion. All right. Now, whenever the UPSC asks you to comment, it means that give your opinion. But that opinion should be based on certain sound evidence, certain facts, right? Now, what they have asked you is, providing portability of food security benefits all across the nation through one nation, one card can prove to be a game changer in the public distribution system of the country. What they're trying to tell you is, like I said before, half the battle is won when you read the question carefully. Now, you must be aware of the background of one nation, one ration card. Do you know? If you're not, then let me enlighten you in that aspect. Well, you see, let's suppose there is this migrant laborer who is from Bihar. Let's suppose he's from Bihar. All right. Now, his actual residence is in Bihar, but in summers he moves to Maharashtra. In summers, he moves to Maharashtra because there are a lot of job opportunities in Maharashtra. Maharashtra has many construction projects that are going on, and there is a huge demand for labor in Maharashtra. That is why this laborer in summertime or in winter time, any season you want, moves to Maharashtra. But the problem is that his actual residence on his Aadhaar card and all is that of Bihar. His address is that of Bihar. His ration card is also that of Bihar in his own district. So what is happening? Well, in Bihar, let's suppose he lives in district A, and in that district there is one fair price shop. Clear? Now his ration card is actually on his ration card, his address is written that he belongs to this district A. Now the problem with his ration card is that through his ration card he can only procure subsidized food grains. Not procure, buy subsidized food grains from this particular fair price shop only, because his ration card is registered in district A, is registered with this particular fair price shop. All right, because his address is that of Bihar, is that of District A. Make sense? The problem is that in summers he moves to Maharashtra. He stays in Maharashtra for good 6 months. Now, in Maharashtra, in Maharashtra also, there is requirement of food security for him, right? Just because he has moved to Maharashtra doesn't mean that we should do away with his subsidy that he's eligible for. He belongs to a poor household. So as per the law, as per the government schemes, as per the public distribution system, he is eligible for subsidized food grains throughout the year, right? But when he moves to Maharashtra, the fair price shop in Maharashtra does not accept his ration card. And hence, the time he is in Maharashtra, the time he spends in Maharashtra, he does not get food at subsidized rates. He has to buy food at market rates. So this creates a problem for him. Government was trying to benefit these migrant laborers. Government was trying to benefit these poor households. But these poor households, many members of these poor households, many people across India are actually migrant laborers. So for half the year, their food security is not being taken care of because their ration card is only recognized in their home district. Their ration card is not portable. Make sense? Maharashtra's fair price shop does not recognize it. So to solve this problem, especially during the lockdown, government came out with this scheme called One Nation, One Ration Card. One Nation, One Card. What's the benefit of this One Nation, One Ration Card? Well, the benefit is that his ration card will now become portable. This particular migrant laborer's ration card under this scheme would become portable. And by portable, I mean that he lives in Bihar, he goes to a fair price shop in his district, and he buys food grains. Then in the summers he moves to Maharashtra. Now in Maharashtra also, his ration card is eligible at this particular fair price shop because his ration card has now become portable all over India. Right? His ration card has become portable all over India. So that's what One Nation, One Card is. One Nation, One Ration Card is. Now, many states have implemented the scheme, but there are some states who have not implemented the scheme. So, for example, let's suppose Assam has not implemented this scheme. So, if this laborer from Bihar moves to Assam, his ration card won't be eligible in a fair price shop in Assam, right? Because Assam has not yet implemented the scheme. But many states in India have now implemented the scheme, and poor households' ration card is eligible all over the country. That's what was intended, right? One Nation, One Ration Card. Now that you know what One Nation, One Ration Card is, don't you think it will be very easy for you to list out its advantages? Yes? And that's what they have asked you by asking you to comment. So they have said providing portability of food security benefits all across the nation through One Nation, One Card can prove to be a game changer in public distribution aspects. How can it be a game changer in public distribution aspect? You remember in the first question when we talked about the issues plaguing public distribution system. In that part, when I was discussing public distribution system with you all, I told you that there are various inclusion and exclusion errors. The thing is that government is spending so much money, but that money is not reaching the intended beneficiaries. Partly because of this problem, partly because of lack of portability of ration card. Make sense? Because half of the year, though the person is eligible for food subsidy throughout the year, half of the year he is not getting that subsidy, yet government is subsidizing him. In a sense, government is spending so much money, yet that person is not receiving money because his ration card is not valid in Maharashtra. Right? So the biggest advantage of One Nation, One Ration Card is inclusion. The other advantage is food security. Right? The other advantage is support. The other advantage is it would facilitate mobility of labor. It would facilitate mobility of labor across the country. Now a particular migrant laborer does not have to worry about moving to a different city, because generally people are worried that if I move to a different city, how will I take care of my food? Well, now he need not worry about that. Well, because government has taken care of that through One Nation, One Ration card. Right? So these are the major advantages. And there are other advantages as well. Of course, there are other advantages, but they are very simple to understand. That is why I'm not discussing them right now. But you'll get those advantages in the model answer given with this lecture. All right? Okay then. Let's not spend more time on this question. Let's quickly move on to question number 4. The progress in livestock sector of the country is directly related to a more balanced development of rural economy and upliftment of poorest sections of the society. Comment. Again, they have asked you to comment. Okay, so let's discuss this question. Now, you know, our economy is made up of 3 major sectors, right? Our economy is made up of agriculture and allied activities. It is made up of industrial sector. And it is made up of services sector, right? You're familiar with this. Now we are currently focusing on agriculture and allied activities. All right. So if we take a look at agriculture and allied activities, it includes crop farming, or we call it crop husbandry, but crop farming, where farmers grow crops. That includes livestock rearing. Now, livestock includes dairy farming, cattle rearing, poultry, fishery, piggery, goatery, right? All these things, animal rearing. Then third is fisheries. And fourth is forestry. So generally a mistake we always commit is whenever we talk about agriculture and allied activities, we focus on only this aspect. We only care about farmers who are growing crops. But there are many people in India who are a part of this sector, but they do cattle rearing. They are fishermen. They do logging and all, right? They cut woods, they cut for trees and they sell the wood in the market, right? So agriculture and allied activities includes all these things. Yes, but the reason why we focus on crop farming alone is because crop farming forms the majority chunk of agriculture and allied activities. So if agriculture and allied activities is there and it is composed of 4 parts, well, 50% of the value added in agriculture and allied activities comes from crop farming. Close to 50% of the value added, again, I'm repeating the sentence, close to 50% of the gross value added by agriculture and allied activities is by this subsector. And that is why we focus too much and we focus a lot on crop farming, right? But currently, crop farming is facing various challenges. Crop farming is facing various challenges. What are those challenges? We'll mention them. Land fertility is declining. Right? Farm productivity is declining because of this, because of decline in land fertility, because of overuse of fertilizers and pesticides. Well, farm productivity is declining. And when farm productivity declines, well, farm income also declines. Make sense? On top of that, farmers are facing this huge debt crisis. And because this debt crisis is huge, farm loan waiver schemes are very popular in some states, right? Because farm debt is pretty big these days. And that is why government schemes which include farm loan waiver scheme, it's very popular among the farmers because farmers are facing this problem, facing this severe problem. Hence it is very popular. Farm loan waiver is very popular among the farmers. So farmers are facing this debt crisis. And there are many other problems facing the crop farming sector. Many other problems, right? Now, the government has aimed, or the government has actually sought to double farmers' income by 2022. We have heard about this, doubling of farmers' income by 2022. Government talks about it endlessly, right? Now, how can the government double farmers' income if land fertility is declining, farm productivity is declining, debt is mounting, farm incomes are declining? Well, there are various ways of tackling this problem, and there are various ways through which government can improve the incomes of farmer, or maybe double it by 2022. Who knows? So there are various ways of achieving this particular aim. But one of the ways is that farmers need to engage in livestock rearing side by side to crop farming. So various crop farmers should engage side by side in livestock rearing as well. So let's suppose there is this farmer who grows rice in the Kharif season and wheat in the Rabi season. Along with this growing of crops, he can also domesticate cattle. And by domesticating cattle, he can anytime extract milk and sell that milk to various marketing agencies, cooperatives. Now, selling that milk would also supplement his income. Make sense? So, various crop farmers should engage in livestock rearing along with crop farming, right? So as to create different sources of income. As of now, various crop farmers only have one source of income, and that is their crop. Now, if they do fishing side by side crop farming, if they do livestock rearing side by side crop farming, well, they have a chance of increasing their sources of income, and that would supplement their income. So this is one of the biggest advantage. Now, what they have asked you in the question is, the progress in the livestock sector is directly related to a more balanced development of rural economy and upliftment of poorer sections of the society. Comment. Now, you'll answer this question by saying that the current crop farming sector is facing these problems. So to help farmers in raising their income, government should support farmers in diversifying their farm activities. Now, how can farmers diversify their farm activities? Well, they can side by side engage in livestock rearing. What are the advantages of livestock rearing? It would supplement their income. It would make farmers less vulnerable to monsoon, right? Because in case there is monsoon failure and if their crop fails, well, they have dairy to help them out. They have livestock to help them out, right? So in a sense, they become less vulnerable. So farmers have many advantages of shifting towards livestock. Farmers have n number of advantages. You can find those advantages in the model answer given in the PDF with this lecture. There are various advantages, right? Most of the advantages deal with income supplementing of income. But they have also written that it leads to more balanced development of rural economy. Yes, of course. Because currently rural economy is only dependent. Various villages in India are only dependent on this sector. Now, if a particular village diversifies its activities, it is not only engaged in crop farming, it is engaged in fisheries, right? It is engaged in forestry, it is engaged in livestock. Right? If a particular village diversifies its farm activities, well, rural incomes would increase. That village, the entire income of that village would increase because there are more sources of income in that village. Right? The farm income in that village would increase. And when farm income in a village increases, rural demand increases. People would have more income to spend on various goods and services, and when rural demand increases, well, rural economy increases. So if a particular village dedicates its entire time, money, energy on one particular activity, well, that particular activity will eventually exhaust itself and stop being remunerative. Therefore, therefore, villages in India, rural India, should diversify its farm activities. It should not put all its eggs in this basket. It should put different eggs in different baskets. That means its time, money, energy in all 4 activities. Only then rural India can advance itself. Make sense? Now, the reason why I included this question was because I wanted you to know about the advantages of livestock rearing in India, right? I wanted you to get introduced to this topic. I wanted you to have some knowledge of this topic. As far as the specific points that you need to write in this answer, as far as the fact that what structure should you follow? Right? What points you need to mention, what should be your main body, what should be your introduction, what should be your conclusion? Well, you'll find about that in the model answer. My point for discussing this question was that I wanted you to be aware of this topic, right? Because we need to cover each and every issue that can become a question in your mains examination. All right? Okay then. Okay, let's move on to next question. Last question, question number 5. A sustainable solution for price stabilization is the need of the hour than merely relying on an ad hoc measures. Discuss in the context of Operation Green Top. Well, again, this question consists of 2 parts, right? Part number 1 is, like I say this always, half the battle is won when you read the question carefully, right? So let's read the question carefully. It is saying that a sustainable solution for price stabilization is the need of the hour than merely relying on ad hoc measures. Currently, what the government is following, whenever there is increase in prices, whenever there is price volatility, government steps in and then retreats back. All right. So government is kind of following an ad hoc mechanism. Whenever there is a problem with prices, government would step in and then it would go back. This question is actually saying, this particular statement is saying that government needs to come up with a permanent mechanism. It should not intervene continuously and then go back. It should come up with a permanent mechanism to allow for price stabilization. Because repeated interventions by the government creates a situation of unpredictability in the market. And when such a situation is there in the market, well, it distorts the market in a sense. Unpredictability is never good for the economy. Clear? So government should come up with a permanent mechanism to stabilize prices. All right. Now they say in the second part, discuss in the context of Operation Green. Now, what you have to do is, first of all, in the first part of your answer, you'll explain the statement and you'll mention the disadvantages of ad hoc mechanism and advantages of permanent mechanism. Then, in the second part of your question, you'll mention how Operation Green is one such permanent mechanism. So, in the second part of your question, you'll write, what is Operation Green mechanism? This Operation Green mechanism is for which crops? Like it is for top, right? Tomato, onions and potato. And how is it a sort of permanent mechanism rather than being an ad hoc mechanism? All right. So initially you'll write, in the first part you'll write, well, currently in India, as far as horticulture crops are concerned, we follow an ad hoc price stabilization mechanism. Now you'll give example of various schemes that are going on to stabilize prices. Well, there is this price stabilization fund. Right? Then there is this Essential Commodities Act, through which government actually enforces stocking limits. This happens especially in the case of onions. You know, whenever there is shortage of onions, all these wholesale traders start to stock onions more and more. That creates an artificial shortage of onions and that increases the prices further. right? To stop that from happening, government actually imposes stock limits on these traders, that these traders cannot store onions beyond a certain limit. So these traders are forced to dump their extra onions in the market, hence the supply of onions in the market increases and prices start to fall, right? So government uses price stabilization fund, government uses Essential Commodities Act, then government puts export ban, so that most of the onions produced in India remain in India, hence supply in India would be high and onion prices would be low. Export ban, then government import liberalization and all that stuff. But all these steps are taken by the government in an ad hoc fashion. Whenever there is a need to stop prices from increasing, then government steps in and takes these measures. Otherwise, these measures are dormant. So these are not permanent solutions. These are temporary solutions. Whenever there would be a price rise, government would put a ban on exports. Government would enforce Essential Commodities Act. Government would liberalize imports of onions or tomatoes or potatoes, right? So these are ad hoc mechanisms. Now, what are the disadvantages of ad hoc mechanism? Well, unpredictability. Then doesn't solve cobweb phenomena. You remember cobweb phenomena? We have discussed about it. If you are still unaware of cobweb phenomena, well then please write in the comment section below. I'll make a special video on that. But cobweb phenomena is a huge problem as far as tomatoes, onions and potatoes are concerned, and ad hoc measures do not solve the problem of cobweb phenomena. Alright, so unpredictability, market uncertainty and all these problems create a hell lot of other problems which inhibit trade in these agricultural commodities, right? So therefore there should be a permanent mechanism instead of these temporary mechanisms. Now, for tomato, onions and potatoes, government has come up with Operation Green. Now this Operation Green is on the similar lines of Operation Flood. Do you guys remember Operation Flood? Well, I think it's my hunch again. I don't think you were born when Operation Flood was launched, but Operation Flood is a very well-known government measure that improved milk productivity in India. Operation Flood brought it's also termed as White Revolution. It actually increased milk productivity so much that India is now the #1 producer of milk in the world. Right? So what Operation Flood did for milk, government is aiming that Operation Green should do that for vegetables and fruits. Well, both of them come under horticulture, but what Operation Flood did for milk, government is aiming that Operation Green does that for vegetable and fruits. Now currently under Operation Green, not all vegetables and fruits are covered, only tomatoes, onions and potatoes are covered. Now, in the second part of your question, you'll write what Operation Green is. Again, I'm hoping that you're aware of Operation Green because, well, you've covered your current affairs, and in our current affairs, we have covered what Operation Green is. So I'm hoping you know about that. But still, if you have any doubts, well, then take a look at the model answer. In that model answer, we have given the definition of Operation Green. So in the second part of your answer, first you will introduce the idea of Operation Green, what this Operation Green is all about, how will it help India, and then you'll write about the advantages of Operation Green, and then you'll write about how Operation Green is kind of a permanent mechanism for price stabilization rather than being an ad hoc mechanism, and where it falls short, right? So you have to write where it is a permanent mechanism and where it falls short of being a permanent mechanism, right? So write that because they have asked you to discuss, so it's pretty open-ended. All right, and with that, we are done with our today's lecture. Now we are done with 5 questions, and through these 5 questions, I hope that I have covered as many issues as possible that are important for your mains examination. All right. So yeah, that's it from my side, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture and I hope it added some value to your mains preparation. If you have any doubts, well, you're free to ask us those doubts in the comment section below, by contacting us, by messaging us, by emailing us. You have n number of channels available for your doubts. So yeah, that's it from my side, guys. I'll see you next time with more stuff. Thank you.